Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Brand Builder Show. Today's episode, as always, is going to be a good one, but particularly this one because we're talking about a really on-trend topic, and that is AI. We're going to be talking about how AI can help you write Amazon listings, grow your business. It's going to be a fun one. Before we do get into the episode, just do want to remind you, we announced last week that we just launched a new course inside of Brand Builder University called Exit Engine, taught by Ben Leonard, the founder of Beast Gear. And if you want to check that out, make sure you do, because the 50% offer is running out in a few days. So check that out. Link will be in the description below. But today's episode is, like I said, it's going to be a really good one. We've got Britton from Percy. Britton, great to have you on the show today.
Ben, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Oh, no, I'm very excited to talk about this topic. It's been something that has been all over my Twitter feed for several weeks. I've been a little bit sort of quiet on Twitter because we've just been super busy. But it's every time I seem to go on there, it's AI this, Chat GPT that, and I feel like if I were to mute Chat GPT on my Twitter feed right now, it would be just tumbleweed, nothing going on, because there's so many threads about it and talking about it. But it's good, right? Because it is the world is changing. Business is not going to look like it does now in 10 years' time. And I think what's exciting about this conversation today is you're on the cutting edge of that. You're building something really exciting with AI, which we will get into. But before we do that, why don't you give us the elevator pitch of your background, what you've been up to, where you've come from, and bring us up to date with what you're up to now.
The elevator pitch. Okay. So my background is in copywriting. I've been a copywriter for 7 or 8 years now, working at ad agencies and startups and everything in between. And the path from there is I used to do listings on nights and weekends. I used to be on Fiverr and Upwork, writing listings for whoever would hire me to do it. And as you probably know, you've written some listings yourself, Ben. When you have a lot of listings to write, after a while that gets really tedious and your brain starts to get tired and you just can't think of a 15th way to describe one different colored jewelry necklace or something. So after a while, I thought there's got to be a better way to do this. And this was right around the time that AI language generation was just coming into its own. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. So I got really interested in that. I taught myself to code AI models and train them. I taught myself to build web apps, and I built Percy, which is basically using AI to help people write Amazon listings.
Nice.
And that's now we're here.
Yeah. No,
that makes it sound a lot more simple than it is, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It always sounds less stressful, and there's less challenges when you give a recap, and that's what I find about nostalgia as well. When I look back, I think of all the good things, but you forget about all of the hard times that were part of making that happen. But no, it's good. Thank you for that summary. We're going to dive into what Percy is and get a bit of a look behind the curtain as such, which I'm really looking forward to. Excuse me. Before we do that, just to get to know you a bit more, I suppose, we do this slot called Favorite 5, where we ask each guest their favorite of these 5 topics that our audience are going to be interested in, and it's things that we're all in the mix with, and so we're going to sort of quick fire through those. So I'd love to ask you, number 1, what is your favorite e-commerce brand right now?
As a copywriter, an advertising copywriter, I have to say Nike. You might not think of them as an e-commerce brand as such, but every commerce brand is now an e-commerce brand, and they still do really amazing ad creative just in everything they do. So if anyone out there is listening and they want to get some great examples of copywriting or design, go look at what Nike does, and you can't go too wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Shoe Dog, the Phil Knight's sort of memoir.
Yeah.
I saw recently they're doing a film about it. So Ben Affleck's going to be in that, so that'll be fun. Good one to look out for all you brand builders out there. Okay, number 2, your favorite software or tool that helps you run your business or life.
Favorite software or tool that helps me run my business or life. Right now,
apart from your own, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. this sounds simple, but it's got to be email. Like
Hmm.
I actually use a sort of obscure email service called Private Mail, which is just
Okay.
connected to my domain hosting. But Gmail has got to be the best business tool that was ever created.
Mm. Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah,
Good. Okay.
boring answer, I
Favorite?
know.
No, no, it's good. The boring works. Favorite organic marketing channel?
Direct sales.
Okay.
That's
And
probably for I mean maybe for brand builders out there, that is a great way to get started
yeah.
with maybe not with if your end goal is to build an Amazon brand, that might not be the
Hmm.
most helpful thing, but actually going out and talking to people one on one has been an amazing thing to learn what people really want, as well as to hone exactly what I'm doing and what
Mm.
my value
Yeah, yeah.
proposition is.
No, that's really good. Solving problems is the foundation of any successful brand, isn't it? So yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
Um, Favorite paid marketing channel? If you've dabbled much with those?
I'm going to say PPC.
Okay.
I'm still very new to it, but
Yeah.
I think that can be a really amazing way to move fast. Maybe
Yeah,
not move fast
definitely.
and break things, but hopefully move fast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, with the search intent is yeah, it's very good. Good. Okay, and then lastly, your favorite business book.
Lean startup.
Is it Eric something? Eric Rice, is
Eric
it?
Eric Rees, I think his name is. I'm
Reese,
not
yeah,
quite
that's the
sure.
name.
If you look up Lean Startup, it's a huge book for any kind of technology or software,
Yeah.
um, and it sort of has lessons for anyone who's trying to make something new or build any kind of business.
Mm.
It's an amazing framework.
Are you using the frameworks to build Percy now?
I do, yeah. It actually gets very tactical, which I like. There's a lot of business books that make these huge, grandiose theories and mental frameworks to turn you into a superstar, but a lot of them
Mm.
don't get very practical in terms of step one, step two, step three, and it really gives you easy steps that you can take yourself
Yeah.
that scale up. You can use it the whole way through.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good stuff. Yeah, no, I did read about it. I did read the book actually a number of years ago, but it was very sort of technology sort of I found focused. So there was some great stuff in there. Maybe not fully relevant to me at that time, but yeah, it's a great book and very highly recommended in the business community. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
great
people
shout.
swear by that book.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Okay, well, thank you for answering those. Thank you for humouring me and answering my
Fast Five.
questions
No,
there.
that's great.
A couple of sort of distinct angles, almost like two rivers that are going to join down river when we get towards the end of the episode. One is copywriting, one is AI, and then bring them together. Given your experience with copywriting, initially in your career, let's start there. And broad strokes, what are the keys to being a good copywriter? What are some of the fundamentals that people need to, if someone wants to write better listings at the very basic level, or they want to try and make a career of being a copywriter, because, you mentioned Nike, their copywriters, Apple, their copywriters probably make an absolute fortune because they're writing copy that is converting so much volume of sales. So there's
Oh yeah.
incredible potential out there, but what are the foundations of being good at copywriting?
Um, there's sort of general copywriting tactics that are helpful to anyone writing anything, whether it's an Amazon listing, a banner ad, a radio ad for Nike or Apple, or a billboard. Um, Probably the biggest one is to write like you speak. So if you
Great
look at
shout.
Apple or Nike or even great well written Amazon listings, what they don't do is write in overly formal language that you wouldn't use in a conversation. And one of the first things that I usually tell junior copywriters, for instance, is the more that you can write in a natural way that sounds like you would something that you would actually say. Um, if you can just write that down, it's probably going to sound better than what you sit there and think about and overthink about and labor over. So number one is writing like you speak.
Mhm.
Um, Number two is to always edit. Editing is actually where great writing editing is where okay writing becomes good writing, and where good writing becomes great writing.
Yeah.
Number three, I'd say, is don't overuse exclamation points. That's a big thing that a lot of people do when they don't feel very confident in their writing. They think add an exclamation point is going to make it, perfect or something. That's just something that you see a lot with people who aren't trained writers. When it comes to Amazon listings, things get a lot more tactical. So the trick to writing an Amazon listings is there's two parts to it. The first is SEO, and the second is the actual persuasive writing itself. So the key for someone who's new to writing an Amazon listing is to understand that first you need to have keyword phrases, search terms that you're going to put into your listing all throughout your listing. They're going to go in your title, they're going to go in your bullets. You're going to have back-end search terms that you're going to put at the bottom. And the purpose of those is to tell Amazon's algorithm that when people search these terms, I want my listing to be associated with those terms. So if I am making a listing for a Bluetooth microphone, I would want search terms like YouTube streamer, gaming, Zoom meetings, use cases. It might be wireless microphone. It might be sound quality microphone. These search terms that people look up, they need to be in your listing, or people just won't find the product you have. So if you don't have the SEO side of your listing locked up, you could write the most persuasive, benefits-driven listing that was ever written, and no one would ever see it. So that's one part, and there's a lot of how-tos about that. You've got a great one yourself, Ben, about how to find great keywords and integrate them into your listing. The second part is once you have your SEO research, then you need to write a listing that not only satisfies all of Amazon's formatting. So there are things like character limits for titles. There are formatting specifics that Amazon likes. There are bullet styles that Amazon likes and doesn't like. There are restricted keywords. So there are a lot of finicky rules. I'm making this sound I'm making this sound impossible. People do it every day. It's not the end of the world. But there's all that is to say, you have to do your SEO research, and then you take that and then you use those keywords to write your listing.
Yeah, that's really good. You mentioned about editing being one of your keys, and I think for excuse me, for Amazon listings, sales copy, whatever it is, I think that's a massive key, because I know the easiest part of writing an Amazon listing, for example, is doing the keyword research and kind of getting the first ideas down on the page. The hard bit is that final 20% that makes it read well, include the right keywords, and enough of the keywords but not too many, and too many of the same keywords so that you can use different variations, etc. The first bit is the easiest, and then it's the next bit that takes a lot of that time, but particularly as well, even with the sales copy as well, is something that you mentioned about editing. Has your process, because I've heard people talk about how, when you're writing, you should just get in the flow of writing, write a listing, write an email, write your website copy, and then come back and edit? Or are you of the mindset of, right, I'm going to make everything sound great as I go and do it bit by bit? How do you kind of work with that?
The answer that no one wants to hear is it depends on how good a writer you are. But the process, the best way to do it, if you aren't sure how to write, is absolutely get everything out. When you're feeling creative, especially when you have a blank page or you're just getting started, sometimes you might not even know exactly where you're going, but writing is a process. And absolutely the first step is to get all of your thoughts out. Don't pay attention to mistakes or spelling errors or anything like that. Just go and be creative and get all your concepts out, and then go back. Once you've gotten most of what you want, go back and organize and restructure. And whether you're right, whether it's sales copy, it could be an email, it could be a press release, it could be your Amazon listings. You'll find that the process of writing is itself finding out exactly what you want to say. One great tip for editing is to read you're writing out loud. If you read
Yeah,
what you've
that's good.
written out loud, you'll often find better ways to say things, or
Mm,
you'll spot mistakes that you may have not seen the first time. Reading out
mm,
loud is a great way to edit through and
mm.
refine the writing that you've already done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm consistently amazed at how we default to saying more than we need to. Like I'll add filler words and read back something. I'm like, why is that so long? There could be so much more brevity there. And I forget who it is. There's a famous quote, isn't there, about a copywriter that says, I would have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have time. Or
Yep.
something like that. It's because it's actually harder work to get things more compact and more concise. And especially with an Amazon listing, that becomes so important, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. It's one thing that I learned as a copywriter is it seems hard at first, and I think people get really intimidated by writing, which is understandable. For instance,
Mm,
I'm a terrible designer, and I get really intimidated by design problems. But it's a muscle, so the more that you do it, the better you get. And one way to always keep improving is just read great writing. So
yeah.
you might not think this applies to Amazon listings, but if you go read John Steinbeck, you'll
Mm,
become a better writer, guaranteed.
mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good tips. Good tips.
Mm.
Obviously, your tool and AI and everything that we'll kind of discuss down that other stream, as I mentioned, is an attempt to solve some of these issues with how hard it can be to write and to get the first ideas down on paper and to get that flow going. And so we'll talk about the tool in a minute, but just generally with AI, things are going crazy with AI right now. As we mentioned, so much talk about it. Inherently, is it a good or bad thing? How do you feel the next 5-10 years looks with the development of AI?
I think it looks amazing.
Mm,
Um, uh, it's been fascinating to see how much ChatGPT has brought this out in people. I mean,
yeah.
you mentioned that you see it a lot on Twitter, on social media.
Mm,
I was on a trip in New Zealand last week in the South Island on a bus with two other people, and what did they talk about? ChatGPT.
really? Wow.
Yeah. Um, so
It's going mainstream.
it really has, and I think the reason for that is just that finally people have an easy way to see for themselves just how amazing the technology is. Um,
Mm,
it's been interesting to me to see the explosion of excitement because in a lot of ways, ChatGPT is actually not much of a leap. It's actually not a leap in the AI engine at all. That same engine
no.
has been in Percy for about a year now.
Hmm.
But what's changed is now suddenly everyone has a way they can go and try it out themselves and ask it a
Yeah.
question or tell it to do something and see just how amazing it is.
Yeah.
So as far as the tool goes, I mean, everyone says, "Oh, I used it to write a letter to my grandma or to make a
Mm,
job posting for a dog walker." It's
mm,
it's amazing technology.
mm.
So my overall answer is good. What do you
Yeah.
think, Ben?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think obviously it's I don't want to say scary because it's not scary, but I think whenever something like that does become mainstream, it does make you think about the future of business. Will things look the way they look in the future? And it does threaten some industries, more than others, and some job sort of industries that more than others, but I think that if you're an entrepreneur, I think it's overwhelmingly exciting because it presents opportunities. It's incredible. Again, I mentioned Twitter a lot, but I think there's just a lot of good people and good interaction on there. And I've seen like guys on there create sort of like AI avatar software that suddenly makes six figures overnight. There's this one guy, an SEO guy on Twitter, that's got this a tool that he's made called Gift Assistant, and I think it's like such a good execution of using AI to build just this simple little thing where he's built this website that's obviously just plugged into the the OpenAI API, and it asks you a few questions about the person that you want to buy a gift for, their gender and what the occasion is and what they like, and then it pumps out a load of gift ideas for you. If you're struggling to come up with an idea, it gives you 20 ideas of what you could buy them for their birthday, and then it gives you the links to go and buy them. And he's obviously set up an Amazon Associates account, so he's earning commission from those sales. And it's genius, and he kind of executed overnight.
Brilliant.
And I think
That's
that's
brilliant.
what's exciting about it, is it's going to really give true entrepreneurs an opportunity to quickly innovate and execute and build some cool stuff. So it's I think overwhelmingly exciting.
I think a lot of people have the tendency to think about first what they're scared of.
Yeah.
So, if I'm a script writer, is this thing going to make my job obsolete, or are people not going to hire me because they're going to use this tool instead? But I think the more likely scenario is how AI is going to help you. So
Yeah, for sure.
whatever you're doing, whether you're building an Amazon brand, or I think in some ways that people probably don't expect, there's going to be a lot of new tools that are powered not just by the ChatGPT AI engine, but image generation, problem solving. Like there's real creative logic that AI has that's going to be really useful, and none of us can really know even what a year from now is going to look like. But it's opening up a whole new horizon of ways that people can do more with less work, which is
for sure
really it's gonna be amazing, I think.
Definitely, yeah. And I think there are people that would disagree with me for different worldviews or whatever, but there's no way AI is going to fully replace everything a human could do, obviously, because a robot doesn't have a soul, no matter how much you train its algorithm, and there's so many different things in there that's the nuances but it's going to change a lot of industries, and there are going to be a lot of things that are sped up, and I'm excited to be more efficient, so it's good. But obviously, speaking of which, Amazon listings, let's bring it sort of in really, like, can AI write a good Amazon listing? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, it can. A lot of so language generation is the most topical thing at the moment. Maybe that and image generation. Language generation has only really come to maturity in the last 2 years or so. But the great thing about Amazon listings, for instance, is when you have a couple of product details, when you have the keywords that you need, AI is really good at creating all the content that you need really quickly. It's not to the point where I'd say guaranteed it's going to be the best listing that you could ever create, but it's going to be a huge enabler for people. So whereas a listing would have taken you an hour minimum to write, if you were a experienced listing writer, if you're not, it might take you 2 or 3. It might take you a day. Now AI can get you a full listing with all the content that you need in 1-2 minutes. And the great thing about that is all those rules that I mentioned before about, say, how Amazon has character limits for titles and formatting rules that they need, and words that they don't allow, or words that they must see in there. AI allows you to bake those things in. So suddenly there's less of a barrier to entry for small sellers, mid sellers, even people who don't want to go to the effort of learning all those weird rules that Amazon has. Now with AI, with some extra stuff built into it, we can make that work a lot easier for people.
Yeah. And you've been, as we said, building Percy to be a solution to this problem of the difficulty of writing Amazon listings that are both SEO driven and primed to convert. And so you mentioned about being able to give us a bit of a demo of it, which I think would be a great, now would be a good sort of segue into that. And
Absolutely.
For anybody that's listening on audio, which is sort of the bulk of the podcast audience, I definitely would encourage to check this one out on YouTube, because I've been chatting to Britton a bit, and I've seen the inside of Percy, and there's some great things in here, but I haven't sort of seen like a full walkthrough like we're about to see, and so I know the potential of it, and he's sort of been chatting to me about some of the features, and so I'm really excited to see what this thing can do, really, and see how this can help Amazon sellers, copywriters, agency owners really grow their output. So yeah, Britton, talk us through it. I see it on the screen now, and we'll try and talk it through for anyone's listening on audio that can't make it to the video. Like I said, try and make it to the video, but if you can't, we're seeing Percy in front of us now. Talk us through it.
So this is a pretty simple app, really. There's a couple of input areas here. You can put in your product name. There's an area to put in any product details. It says tell us about your product. So this is for any kind of distinguishing features, particularly anything that's unique about your product that you certainly want to bring out in your listing. It's also for any kind of specs, for specifics. Maybe you're selling a pack of 4 or 6 or different colors. That can all go in there. And then there's a bunch of extra knobs that you can tweak to get the listing that you want, including an input area for SEO keywords. We can talk about that in a little bit. There's every marketplace language you want. So if you write in German or Spanish or French, you can do that in here as well. There's tone of voice options. So there's a bunch of different options you can play with. And then you hit go, and then in a few seconds, out comes your listing on the other side.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's give it a spin, shall we? Take it.
Let's
for a spin,
do
I
it.
should say.
So what I love to do is just to put people on the spot and say, tell me a product you can think of off the top of your head, and let's make a listing for it.
For me, it's always the yoga mat. The yoga mat is the go-to. Every kind of tutorial, I seem to go back to the yoga mat, and it gets me a bit of stick from our Brand Builder University community. So let's.
Okay.
Why change now? Let's go yoga mat.
Oh yeah. All right. So we'll do yoga mat. I'm gonna type yoga mat in there. What are some things about this yoga mat that make it distinctive?
Oh, loads. Of course, it's got to be an extra thick yoga mat.
Extra thick yoga mat.
It's going to be non-slip.
Non-slip.
It's going to have a carry bag with a handle. It's going to be water resistant, sweat resistant, maybe.
Water resistant, sweat resistant, water resistant. So when you're doing yoga in a downpour.
Yeah.
It will resist it.
I meant more the sweat, but yeah.
Okay, we'll take water out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those would be the main things.
Okay, well, we'll just stick with that. So one thing about Percy, while we're on this little area, you can put a lot in here, or you can put a little, and Percy will take everything that you put or flesh out, from a couple of details. What bullet length would you like to write your bullets to? What byte length?
Yeah, 250.
250? Yep, 250. You want to do American or UK English?
No, let's do American.
Okay,
just
American
on
English.
the language, so you can do like German, French, Italian.
Yep. Any of the marketplace languages Percy will do. It can handle, if you put in English words and then say, give me a German listing, it will do that just fine. If you put in English SEO keywords with a German language selection, it will give you those English keywords put into a German listing. So it's better to check and make sure that your keywords are matching the language that you want to do. Any language will do it.
That in itself is for people that want to expand into Europe, that's a huge cost saver, because traditionally you would have to get either a translator or an agency that specializes in Amazon, in those marketplaces, and this can obviously do it for you, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing I'll advise folks, if you're trying to translate listings, some people don't know this, especially folks who are new to Amazon. If you have a listing in the US and you want to transfer it to, say, Mexico or to the UK, do your SEO research again for that market. A lot of folks try and use the same keywords, or they might even just chuck it into Google Translate into Spanish or something. The way that people search in Mexico is not the same way that people search in the US, is not the same way that people search in the UK. So make sure you always do new SEO research for every marketplace that you want to enter.
Great tip.
Okay, so we've got SEO keywords. Throw me some SEO keywords. You're a yoga mat expert.
Yep. Yoga mat, obviously. Extra thick yoga mat.
Extra thick yoga mat.
Yoga mat for women.
Mm-hmm.
The non-slip yoga mat.
Yep. Pilates mat.
That's what gym mat as well.
Gym mat. Exercise mat.
Yoga mat with handle or with bag. Yeah, let's say bag.
Mm-hmm.
Large yoga mat. And you can do colours as well, but it depends on what your which colour you'd be selling. But yeah, I think those would be the main ones.
Okay, cool. So you can put more phrases in here. You know, I've seen people put 30, 40 keyword phrases in here sometimes, and Percy will optimize them all, but this is a great start. There's a couple of other knobs we can fiddle with. Maybe for time's sake, we won't worry about bullet topics. That allows you to control what each bullet does. But tone of voice, we probably would want a friendly tone of voice for this listing, I think, based on the yoga mat. So that's good. We've got some basic inputs here. I'm going to hit go, and you'll see what comes out the other side.
It's going to do his work.
So basically what's happening here is Percy is looking at these product details that we've given it. So what's the name? What are these details here? Extra yoga mat, non-slip, all that. So it's already returned our result. We've got our title and bullets and everything else here on the right. But to finish that thought, it takes those inputs that we gave it and forms a concept of the product. So it's sort of the AI's way of getting its hands on this thing and looking around and making sure it understands. Then it uses that idea to write every piece of your listing. So here's a title. Here are 5 bullets. It comes up with ideas for each bullet. So what are the 5 things that we should talk about here? It will write an HTML description. So we've got HTML tags with headings and paragraphs. We've got bullet points on the bottom, 5 bullet points. Cool. And then it goes through, and just like a real writer would, it will optimize with all of the keyword phrases that we gave it. So they're highlighted here in green. If anyone's watching on YouTube, you can see that hopefully.
For those that are listening on audio, can I just read out a few bits of it, because this is really...
please do, of course,
I'm reading it. I'm like, this is really good, actually. The title, Extra Thick Yoga Mat for Women. Obviously, the first keyword that we put in, is right there at the front of the title, which is obviously really important. Non-slip, sweat-resistant mat with carry bag and handle, ideal for Pilates, gymnastics, stretching, and exercise. So there's a lot of keywords in there, but the key thing for me here is it actually writes really well. I think a lot of people, maybe when they think about an AI tool and you're pumping loads of keywords into it, it's going to be just a bit spammy maybe, but that actually reads really well. And these bullet points as well, I quickly scanned them as you were going through, but just to read a couple out, again, they just read really well, actually. Balance and stability. So this is the first keyword, balance and stability, and then a dash, which, I assume you kind of programmed that into it, because that's, some good styling there to have a little bit of a title at the front of the bullet. And then the rest of the bullet says, feel steady and secure in your poses with a non-slip yoga mat for improved balance and stability. Enjoy being able to confidently hold poses for longer and confidently challenge yourself with more difficult sequences. Now, for me, that's what's really good about that is the fact that it's not just looking at the features, it's talking about the benefits. And this is something we go on and on and on about with our community, is you can't just tell people what the product does, you've got to tell them what it does for them. What is the end user going to get out of this product? How's it going to make them feel? And it just starts right with that. Feel steady and secure in your poses. Enjoy being able to confidently hold poses. And really good. And then the next bullet point, comfortably cushioned. You'll love the increased comfort and cushioning of your Pilates mat. Great for those long practices when you need support and sweat resistance. Get the cushioning and comfort you need anytime, anywhere. You deserve it. And then even the fourth bullet point, so I know I'm kind of going over them all here, but the fourth bullet point, the little title there is get a grip on your practice, and then it's talking about the grip that it has there, which again, this is good copy, like this is stuff that's, these little titles that they're short, they're punchy, they get to the point of what you're saying. I think, my initial thought, just scanning those first 5 bullet points, is there's probably rehashing some of the same sort of points. But obviously, we've done a very quick job of, we haven't put that many keywords in. We haven't put that many features in. So I think I think this, where it's going to, I'm sure you would, say too, that where it's going to come into its own is if you can put 20 features in, 30, 40 keywords in, it's going to give it lots to work with. And even, like you mentioned, you can kind of assign those bullet topics. But that's, I mean, for just literally, what did we spend on that? 2 minutes putting in a few keywords, and it's pumped out something that's, honestly, I'm really impressed with the, not just the fact that it's the way it's structured, but just the flow of it, the fact that it's covering features and benefits. That's, I'm impressed.
Well, thanks. That's great to hear. I mean, I won't take all the credit for it. AI is pretty amazing. But maybe one of the differences with Percy compared to other tools that you might see is that, I'm a copywriter. So when I was building this, every step of the way, I was checking it and using it myself to make sure, is this really going to write listings that people need and that are actually going to move products? So it's fun to watch it now.
Yeah, for sure. And that was going to be the next thing I was going to say. And I certainly don't want to answer the question for you, but when I think about, because I suppose one of the things that a lot of people ask, and I initially thought was, well, couldn't you just do this with something like ChatGPT or something like that, which, when we started talking was free. Now they're charging for it, so it doesn't make much difference now anyway. But what I'm seeing with this here is just the specificity towards Amazon listings, and if you're going to be hoping that you're going to launch a product that's going to generate 10,000 100,000 a month in revenue, then you want to be optimized as possible for Amazon. You don't just want to, if you had a surgeon operating on you, you wouldn't want them to use a dinner knife, right? You'd want them to use the sharpest, most specific scalpel to be incisive. And I think like this is a scalpel. Is that the right word? Yeah, I think so. Scalpel for
exact
for Amazon listings. Yeah.
I think that's really what it comes down to. ChatGPT can obviously do so many things, and in some ways, it can do anything you ask. Whether it will do a good thing for that thing that you ask it, that's up for debate. But there are a lot of things that it does really well. Like, if you want a gift idea for a 35-year-old father of 2, it will probably give you great gift ideas. Where I think one of the confusing things about ChatGPT, and this is starting to be discussed, online, is it is a generalist AI engine. So you can ask it to write you an Amazon listing. You could ask it to write you 5 bullet points for an Amazon listing, and it would give you 5 bullet points. But the trick is that ChatGPT doesn't actually know what Amazon is. So all ChatGPT will do is complete phrases based on the prompt that you give it. So there's sort of a gap in understanding where ChatGPT can write you things, but it doesn't actually understand what it's writing for. It doesn't know what Amazon's restricted phrases are or what its preferred formatting is. So there's a lot that can be missed in the middle that could cost you sales if you're relying totally on ChatGPT to make the content for you, especially if you yourself don't know all the extra places you could fall short. So if you're an expert and you just need something to get 50% of the way there and you'll do the rest, ChatGPT might be able to help you just get something on the page. But in the same amount of time, you could put it into Percy and you can get something that's 95% of the way there.
Definitely. Yeah. No, really good. Your clients that are using it at the moment, what's some of the feedback that you're getting from them? How is it helping them in their sort of day-to-day workflow?
Well, the biggest thing is, and this makes me so happy, is just when I talk to content teams, for instance, who have to write listings all day, every day, when they see the first listing come out, the look of relief and joy on their face is pretty palpable. Because instantly they can just see how much better their job is going to become, and either they can save time and go work on other things that they need to, like A+ images or something like that, or it's going to allow them to to do way more listings at the same time. So suddenly their account managers or their brand is going to be able to list way easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably the other thing I hear is great feedback about extra things people want. I'm always building more into Percy, so I get a lot of amazing feedback about, hey, can you make something that can adjust this, or can you could you also help me with this Amazon task? The next big one is SEO keywords. So I'm really excited about that, doing some SEO keyword automation, so you won't have to filter through all the brand and irrelevant keywords yourself anymore. How about that?
Yeah. No, that's exciting. Yeah, I think that like anything, it's going to need. This is going to do the heavy lifting for you, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that are out there saying, well, AI, you could just click a button and create a blog post, for instance, that's going to rank on Google, and that might happen short term, and in some cases, but then everyone can do that, and so then what's the differentiating factor? It's going to be quality human input, and so it's the same with this, isn't it? It's going to do the heavy lifting for you that does 50-75% of the work, but then you can really use your time to hone in and find those exact areas where you can really tweak it to your brand, to your product. But I think it would, for a lot of people, it would take them either they just wouldn't do it and they would just focus on the features and not translate that into benefits at all, or it would take them so long to do it in a way that reads well and includes the keywords that, I think nobody should expect an AI tool just to do everything for them without having to edit. There's always going to be a need to fine tune and take what it's given you and kind of tweak it a little bit. But so much of the heavy lifting that I can see this doing for Amazon sellers, both new and growing, and agencies. Like, I imagine, gosh, this is going to change the game for some agencies. It's crazy.
Agencies have been really happy about it. Yeah, they're really excited. To your point about is this going to level the playing field? I think it's going to make the baseline of Amazon content lift. So if you go on Amazon now, half the products you see, you wonder if the person just even was looking at what they were typing. There's a lot of really lazy listings out there. So it would be great for, the general level of listings to go up. But I think for the top 10% of people who already do focus a lot on their content and make sure it's top quality, a tool like this, what's never going to be replaced is your own brand identity and the way that you steer your product. So there are a lot of different yoga mats online that you can buy, and each of them has a slightly different take. They might angle towards a different use case or possibly a different brand voice or demographic. So no matter how advanced AI gets, and this will be true for any AI tool that people create for Amazon, there's always going to be a niche that you can go after easier with AI tools like this. So there's always going to be, an art around what kind of features do you want to focus on? What kind of keywords are you going to find that someone else isn't going to find? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very cool. And just sort of finish up then, if you could predict where AI and copywriting goes in the next 12 to 24 months, more of the same trajectory, what are your thoughts?
I think in general, 2 months ago, only a couple of people knew about ChatGPT, and now everyone's using it to answer all kinds of questions. The Google, fire alarm that is going off where people are now using ChatGPT instead of Google is interesting. So it's possible that these kinds of things become almost, more like personal assistants, just in a general sense. I think there's going to be a lot of new tools that come out that help people, probably in a similar way to Percy, that are made for specific use cases. So there might be, say, sales emails writers, or I'm sure there's already social post writing that's being done. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see around the edges of ChatGPT will be generally useful for a lot of easy things, but then there's a lot of harder things around the edge that it can't really quite do. Amazon listings are a good example. It's not really quite getting there. So it's going to be interesting to see how people can use AI to keep expanding out.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very interesting times ahead, and I'm excited for it. And I'm excited for you and for Percy. I've really enjoyed this conversation, not only about copywriting, because that is such an essential, skill for any entrepreneur, anybody that's in, any sales environment at all is absolutely massive. It's one of the core skills that anybody should learn in business. So that's fun, but also the AI side. Really impressed with Percy, and I'm excited to see you build it. I think we've got a special offer for our listeners if they want to check out Percy.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, go put in BBU50. You'll get 50% off your first month.
Nice. And that is the URL is just Percy with an IPR. You say it, you know it better than me.
PERCI.ai. PERCI.ai. Go there, check it out. You get a couple of free listings when you sign up, so you can have a play. And then when you sign up, use BBU50, get half off.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing that for our audience. I'm sure a bunch of them will take you up on it and try it out. And guys, let me know in either YouTube comments or via email or anything, just how you get on with it. Because I'd love to hear how you're using it to speed up your workflow, improve your listings, and create really great high converting Amazon listings. So exciting times. Britton, again, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you taking time out, and keep us posted with how it all goes. Hey.
Oh yeah, I'll let you know when there's a new tool to show you. I'll come on again.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks so much.
No worries. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Check out that below. The deal for Percy below will be in the description, and check out the website. Check out everything that's on offer there. Excited for you to test that out, and we'll see you in the next episode, same time next week. Take care. Bye bye.